Welcome back to Explore Overland, and we're just north of Licola here, heading down black soil track towards the Macalister River track. I'm going to be crossing the Macalister multiple times until we get up to the turn off of Butcher Country, which is the ultimate destination. I'm going to be heading up Butcher Country to the top of Mount Howard. And if you have a look a bit further down the track here, we get past these gates, you see back down, right the way down the Macalister Valley. Which is just a magnificent view. And that ridgeline up to the right that you can see right in the centre of the screen now, that is Butcher Country. It heads up that ridgeline to Mount Howard. We're just picking up where I left off at the end of episode 2, and running late, getting late, very late in the afternoon to find a spot to camp. And it's quite incredible how well the camera's picking up the light, what's left of the light in the afternoon. And you'll see when I get down to the actual Macalister itself, the actual light was near on dark, but it's still, the camera is just picking up an incredible amount of light. You can still see the rocks in the river, which is quite surprising when I've come back to edit the film. And just the black soil track itself is nothing crazy. It can be a bit slippery if it's wet. You can see there it's got quite a bit of clay in it. But it's just a very steady, easy drive. It's got some ruts and that in it, you'll see coming over here. Where it was torn up during the wet. But it's still a very, very easy drive. Disco's just straddling that, no worries at all. But the best part about the black soil track is it's nice and wide and open, and you really do get to see right down the Macalister Valley, and the views are absolutely spot on. And you can see by the amount of scrub cleaned away up in that top section just back up there that, yeah, there's nothing obscuring the view for your whole drive down. Just as a bit of a quick side note to this story, probably about, I would say, 20 years ago, we actually had a larder that was pretty well destroyed and broken on a trip, and rather than leaving it behind, we got it going again, and we actually towed it out of here, come away on a trip with us, and we got it home. So it was broken down down near Dingo, corner of Dingo Hill basically, and Caledonia track, and come right up the steep section. And I think it done the clutch. It's that long ago, I can't remember. But anyway, we towed it right. Anyone that knows all this area, it was a pretty amazing feat that it was towed out. But the thing was, the guy who actually broke the car, he wasn't driving. His poor mate got the job of being in the car and being towed the whole way out, up and down some really crazy gnarly stuff. It wasn't as well made as what it is now, and all at night and all with the lights on, with no clutch. It was just crazy, the things you do. We ended up flat towing it all the way back to Melbourne, which is quite incredible now. But as you can see here, the track has just been relatively recently regraded, and it's pretty easy going. And this area in here is one of my favourite parts of the high country. It's a really nice spot, big steep climbs, really rocky outcrops, just that harsh mountain terrain that is in the southern section of the high country, down around Licola. I was getting a bit worried at this stage, and I'd pretty much given up hope of getting a real decent spot down on the river. Being a Friday afternoon it was at this time, and I thought, well, these days there's just so many people full driving, and I thought, well, this being such an awesome track, the campsites would be all taken. And those mountains over in the distance, you've just seen the Macalister Rivers over to the other side of those. And once we get up to Mount Hout the next day, we're going to come back down Macalister River, and then from there head up Dingo Hill, and then back down to Licola. Now, in the social media age, there's many other tracks in the high country that take a lot of credit, and ridgeline tracks that blue rag and all of that, and billy goats. But these tracks in here, if for anyone that really wants to come out and experience the best of the high country, this is where to come. The last time I come down here had been after the huge storms that had filled Lake Glenmaggie in 24 hours from empty to full, and the amount of trees and the way it ripped the water come down the Macalister and just ripped huge trees out of the ground and all the bends and stacked them up down the river. This place was just torn to pieces, and it was quite incredible to see. It's very surprising the light that this camera's picking up at this so late in the day. And the only way you can really see how late it is getting, because it's picking up and it's making everything look light, is when you see the headlights on the foliage and that. When I filmed this, I just thought all of this was just going to be dodgy, and I didn't expect to use it. I was just going to come back down the river the next morning and film it again before I headed up Butcher Country, but yeah, it was very surprising. Did anyone spot the trout jumping outside the passenger window there? Unfortunately, the incredible sunshine we had earlier in the day didn't last until the next day, and when I come back to film all of this, it was a little bit overcast. But being as spectacular as what it is, it still was absolutely stunning up and down the rivers. But I would have liked to have filmed it with the sun, but it wasn't to be the case. to tell you, by this point I was a little bit over it as well. It had been a really long day out filming, and I was just hanging out to get a place to stop and cook a feed and relax for a bit. Anyone that's ever driven this track will know exactly how awesome it is following the river down through the valley. And I really couldn't believe how lucky I got here at scoring this site. I'm pretty sure I've camped here before, probably 25 years ago with another crew that I used to go out to the high country with. But anyway, absolute pearler of a spot. just for a little spot. Gotta be happy with that. On this shot here, I'm lighting up about a grid square like a flare with all the outside work lights. And then on this shot here, I bought this ages ago, and it's just one of those things that sits in the car, and I mean ages, like about 4 or 5 years ago. Is this one little LED light, and it was a quality one, but the amount of light this thing throws out is just sensational. And the great part about it is it's got the magnet on the bottom, but the light actually swivels as well. So you can stick it onto, it's pretty hard with a Land Rover finding places to stick it on, but you know, the centre pillars and all that sort of thing, you can stick it on the outside and move it around, which is really good. Just one of those great little finds. And this was just a really great spot to wake up, cook breakfast, get everything ready and start the day. Spectacular. And as most people would know, after the four-wheel drive boom, getting something like this to yourself on a track like this is, yeah, it's pretty good work. Now this would have been absolutely great without the cloud cover and the morning sun, but it's still really, really cool. What a view back down the Macalister Valley towards Licola. those rock outcrops in the side of the mountains there. That's actually a feature the whole way up Butcher Country, and even coming down Caledonia you'll see right back across to the high plains and all the cliff faces in there. They're really rocky outcrops. The Discovery done a really good job of being camouflaged here. At this point here, I just wish that I was stuck in gridlock traffic somewhere in the city. It is getting very, very hard to get, top spots like this to yourself now, with the outdoors just being so popular and four-wheel driving being so popular. There really was an extraordinary amount of wildflowers out, being right at the start of summer and the end of spring. Okay, so here we are backtracking. This was all the stuff I crossed the night before. I'd come down to get a better shot at it with some drone footage and some better angles to try and show people just how spectacular this drive is. I mean, there's many places in the high country where you'll cross rivers a lot. That's just an inherent part of the high country. But there's not many places in the high country where you'll cross them as spectacular as this. The Macalister really is my favourite river out of the high country, and I mean there's a lot of good ones, and there's especially north of the high country. Nothing says adventure like an old Land Rover, that's for certain. And what's incredible is this one's got the equivalent of 3 lifetimes on the odometer, and it's still doing it like it was brand new. One of the funny things is when the old 300 series owners are sticking their nose up in the street at how flashy they are, all us guys that are driving the older spec 4Bs, because they don't make them like they used to, we're all smiling, that's for sure. One easy low payment and a lifetime of possibilities. They do not make them like they used to. Okay, we've done the loop and we're further upstream now. We're getting very close to Butcher Country. This is the second last crossing before the Butcher Country turn off. And have a look at this for a river crossing. This is just everything you just ever wanted to see. How's the solid slab of rock and the cave underneath? There was actually people camped to the left of the screen there in the bush, but I didn't notice they were there, and I only noticed it today when I was editing the footage that there was a tent and all that set up in there. It's interesting flying over the top and you can see all the rock ledges that make their way down underneath the water. It's sort of images you don't normally see, and the drone's been able to pick them up and you can see them. It just added another aspect and more texture to the view. And the Macalister track, it keeps heading further on at the Butcher Country turnoff, and you do cross the river again further up, but we're not going to do that on this trip. But I wanted to film this. This is a primo camp spot here. This is Butcher's Cascade, and quite a spectacular spot. I've seen this in full flood. It's awesome, but it's awesome like this. Really great place to kick back on a hot day and just enjoy. One of those really great spots in the high country. I'm sure anyone that's ever camped here or been here knows exactly what I'm talking about. It really is a must come and do spot for anyone that really wants to see the best of the high country. It doesn't take that long to get from Melbourne out and up to Licola through Hayfield, and you can head up and do it that way. You don't have to go back down Caledonia like I'm doing. You can just head up to the top of Howard and then back over and Brock's Track and back through Sheepyard and head home through Mansfield if you want. Okay, this is the Butcher Country turnoff, and as you can see the sign's missing like everything else in the high country, and it's in someone's garage and they think they're really cool. It's a big climb pretty much straight away. There's a couple of peters out a little bit in a couple of spots, but you're pretty well climbing straight up out of the valley onto the first knoll of Butcher Country. It too's had a touch up from the dozer in recent years. Usually a bit wild and woolly down this section because it is so steep. The water runs off it and down it, and so you get some wild ruts in it sometimes. Now, I didn't stop and start trying to film from the front to get the depth of how steep it is on this first section up to the first knoll. I probably regret it a little bit now because it's very hard to see. Some people will be able to see how steep this is, and some people have probably driven it and know how steep it is. But this is a pretty serious climb from now on up this bit here. And but when I'm filming from the front, I'm starting to be able to find and get some real depth for how steep things are when you're climbing them. So we will a little bit further up, so just bear with us, and you can probably see how steep some of it is just by following up from the rear. And you can see there the tyres are just breaking a little bit of traction on the dusty, soft ground, chalky sort of ground, spitting out a couple of rocks because it is quite a steep pinch there, and that's a good telltale sign because the Discovery doesn't normally do stuff like that because it's a pretty light and agile vehicle. And unfortunately that's the end of this episode, otherwise I'll never be able to upload it, it'll be too long, and the next one will be out shortly and where we finish Butcher Country. And I really hope you're enjoying it because I'm trying hard to film it from all the different angles that you've never seen before.